But here's an even bigger problem. There are photographs of Mr. Carter and Mr. Combs at commercial establishments during the 37 minutes. They're not there. Even if you try to come up with the fastest possible timeline. I'm talking about no traffic, nobody getting in your way at the door, right to the bar kind of timeline. It still doesn't work.
Shout out to XXL Magazine over here. We've got some breaking news about, I don't know whose guy this is, but this man, Tony Buzbee, I don't know where to stand on Tony. This whole back and forth between Tony and Jay-Z and Alex Spiro has been crazy because XXL Magazine says attorney Tony Buzbee has filed a lawsuit against Roc Nation and lawyers Marcy Croft and Quinn Emanuel for what he says are violations of various state laws, including impersonation of a public official. Oh my gosh. Buzbee alleges that they are intending to obstruct justice and prevent the Buzbee law firm for pursuing cases related to the Diddy allegations in New York. Buzbee claims their conduct was caught on tape. Oh, this is getting bad. This is bad. Tony Buzbee says today the Buzbee law firm filed suit against Roc Nation and lawyers Marcy Croft and Quinn Emanuel for violation of various state laws, including barratry. I don't even know what that is. And impersonation of a public official. The case was brought on behalf of a former client of the firm who was illegally solicited by agents working on behalf of the defendants. We heard about this from Alex Spiro, and we're going to get into that here in a second. But he says, I don't know what they're talking about, but it has nothing to do with me or Jay-Z. But let's keep it going. This illegal conduct has happened more than 24 times to date and has resulted in 2 utterly frivolous cases against the firm. The lawsuit filed today alleges that the defendant's conspiracy is intended to obstruct justice and prevent the Buzbee law firm for pursuing cases related to the Diddy litigation in New York. The conduct isn't just alleged, it was caught on tape. Oh, mama. Defendant Marcy Croft, who describes herself on social media as part of Team Roc, is orchestrating the conspiracy along with assistance from defendant Quinn Emanuel. As you see from the screenshot, Croft, Quinn Emanuel, and Roc Nation have a long working history. That's the suit alleges defendant Roc Nation is financing the illegal effort. As set forth in the lawsuit earlier this week, agents acting on Croft's behalf again were caught on tape soliciting and offering money up to $10,000 to former clients of the Buzbee law firm to convince them to file a frivolous case against the Buzbee law firm. Well, we don't know if it's frivolous or not. Tony, your reputation is not looking great right now. So saying something that's frivolous, I don't know. Innocent until proven guilty, though, right? We'll see. These folks have now stooped to a new low to try to intimidate the lawyers of the Buzbee law firm by doing their important work, or from doing their important work. They now are contacting clients and former clients and actually offering them money to sue me. This conduct was specifically targeted at our firm, so we would not pursue cases related to the Diddy litigation. Well, that's speculation. We don't know that. Let me be clear. We will not be bullied or intimidated. The defendants this time overstepped, got sloppy, and stupidly got caught at their legal scheme on tape. We have reported this conduct to the authorities and intend to cooperate with the authorities to ensure all involved are prosecuted to the full extent allowed under the Texas law. So Tony Buzbee again is taking shots back at Jay-Z and Roc Nation. I don't know if there's anything to this. They say they have the evidence. They say have the tape. We'll have to wait and see. But Alex Spiro finally speaks out. Jay-Z's attorney, he holds an entire press conference where he goes through the claim filed against Jay-Z, or the claim that Jay-Z was now the amended claim Jay-Z was mentioned in, that says he, another celebrity B, a female celebrity, and Diddy were in a room where this 13-year-old was assaulted. So let's get into it. Shout out to CNN for this. Oh gosh, it pains me to say shout out to CNN, but CNN has been on it lately. We'll see what they have to say about this. And then Thanks to Amy, we'll be able to see the full press conference from Alex Spiro. Let's go.
Jayz's attorney says the sexual assault claim against the hip hop mogul is false. A woman has accused Jayz of raping her at an after party for the 2000 MTV Video Music Awards when she was 13 years old. But attorney Alex Spiro says the allegations are, quote, all a fantasy. CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister has the latest from New York.
Jayz's attorney is doubling down on a denial that his client ever raped a 13-year-old girl. Now, Jayz has already fiercely denied these accusations, and his legal team has already asked the court to dismiss this case entirely. But now, for the first time speaking to reporters since these accusations came out, Jayz's attorney, Alex Spiro, held a press conference of sorts. There was a private meeting at Jayz's Roc Nation offices in New York City where CNN was invited to watch a presentation put on by Jayz's attorney, where he had a PowerPoint where he showed different details that he says disprove Jane Doe's case. Let's take a look at some of what he said.
This is not an account of inconsistencies. I wanted everybody to understand that this never happened. This is completely false. You have to look at the timeline. You have to look at the timeline. So there's an old expression that time doesn't lie. Everything else that I'm talking about, these glaring inconsistencies, these are not minor inconsistencies. These are not minor problems with this story. This is utter falsehoods.
Yeah, he's right.
Time never lies.
It's bad.
And so if you look at the time, no matter what, this couldn't have happened. It's not even possible that this happened.
Now, as you heard there, Jayz's attorney saying that these aren't just inconsistencies in Jane Doe's case. He's saying that the entire thing is false. In fact, he says it's not even possible that Jayz was there. Now, if we go back to Jane Doe's initial complaint, she alleges that she was raped by both Jayz and Sean Diddy Combs at an after party for the MTV Video Music Awards in the year 2000. Now, this after party, she said, was held at a White House that was outside of the city. Well, Jayz's attorney actually showed photos of Jayz that night at an after party, but it was in New York City. So he says, if you look at the timeline, it's not possible that Jayz was in the suburbs at this alleged after party because he was photographed being somewhere else. Now, in her—
Yes, and we saw some pictures from our very own Dennis Byron. He was at the party in 2000. He said, I took pictures. He showed the pictures he took. If y'all haven't seen that video, go check out the live stream that Dennis did. He was there. He saw Jayz, he saw Diddy, and he said they were at the party until well after 3 a.m. in the morning, which makes another instance to where this story or this claim could be impossible.
Her initial complaint, Jane Doe also said that she got to this alleged after party by getting into a limo from a driver outside of the MTV VMAs who said that they worked for Sean Combs. Well, today, Jayz's attorney is saying that's not possible because the limousine line was barricaded by the police and fans were not able to access it. Now, I reached out to Jane Doe's attorney. His name is Tony Buzbee. He says that he is representing over 120 accusers of Sean Diddy Combs. This is the first accuser to come forward and name Jayz. But he tells me that he stands by his client. He says that they are still vetting her. But when I asked about the vetting process, here's what he told me. He said that 4 individuals at his firm interviewed the client and checked details. He says that a background check was run on Jane Doe and that his firm actually engaged a seasoned investigator to vet some details she disclosed to us. And he said, quote, those results were consistent with what the client had told us.
How is that so? We also engaged a seasoned investigator to vet some of the details she disclosed to us. Listen, y'all, I am nowhere near a seasoned investigator. And we figured out that this story was just some BS. We have a seasoned investigator and a seasoned investigative reporter, Dennis Byron, who's been in the industry for over 20 years, not only saying this doesn't make sense, but he said, I was there and this didn't happen. So I don't know what's going on with their seasoned investigator, but it's not looking great for him.
and he said, quote, those results were consistent with what the client had told us. He also says that she has signed 2 separate affidavits, and he tells me, quote, courts exist to resolve factual disputes. Our client remains adamant about her claim.
Well, we all know that's not true.
Stop the cap.
Because their client can't remain adamant about her claim if she was being interviewed by NBC and said, well, I may have forgotten some things. I could have gotten some things wrong. And then they talked to the dad and he said, yeah, I never picked her up from the party like she claimed in the actual legal document. It wasn't me. I don't know what's going on there. Let's get into this actual press conference, or this press briefing, they're calling it, from Alex in here. Alex Spiro. I'm saying Spiro. This is one of the best press conferences or press briefings I've seen. It sounds like he's giving his closing arguments, and he did an amazing job. Shout out to Amy for posting this. Y'all go make sure you check this out over on their channel. Here we go. You
have to look at different pieces of the narrative. The location, where it happened, the witnesses, who were they, what did they say, the details. Details are very important in time. So we start off with the location. And according to their complaint, after approximately 20 minutes, she arrived at a White House with a U-shaped driveway and a gate. There is no such location in New York, 20 minutes from Radio City. It does not exist. There is no such location. We don't know whether they created a location in order to try to get jurisdiction in New York so they could bring this case in New York, or whether they just didn't do their homework. But any New Yorker knows there is no such location. Beyond that, this was supposed to have taken place at Mr. Combs' after party, according to them. When you look at the homes associated with Mr. Combs during that period of time, and even not during that period of time, none of them matches. He had a townhouse, he had a house in the Hamptons hours away, and he had homes in New Jersey, but not at that time. None of the homes work, the location doesn't work, because this never happened. And again,
because it never happened.
When you really bear down on the location and his whereabouts, you quickly realize, because if there's photographic evidence and witnesses are coming forward, that Mr. Carter was at a commercial establishment after the VMAs. He wasn't at a house. Unfortunately for them, they needed to create this house in order to create the narrative. But he wasn't at a White House that did not exist. And this is a photograph of him at a location after the VMAs. So as we can continue through this, Jane Doe does not say that the assault happened at a commercial establishment. She can't. That wouldn't make any sense. Yet Correct. They stand by it. They double down. They triple down. White House. The White House doesn't exist. And then we get to the witnesses. And I think at the outset, everybody has to remember that in 24 years, not a single witness has ever come forward saying this happened. Quarter of a century. Think about that. She says she's at the party alone, this 13-year-old girl, and she finds herself in the room with the 3 most famous people at the party. Just think about how unnatural, how little common sense that makes. And according to her, one of the witnesses is a female celebrity who's just standing there watching the repetitive rape of a child. That celebrity does nothing, says nothing, reports nothing. And in fact, they won't even identify her. According to them, there's an adult female in the room watching the rape of a child. They refuse to identify her. So then we continue.
Well, I think we all know why they refuse to identify her. They're going to figure out who they can put in the room. Probably, hate to say names, Jennifer Lopez. Because she was with Diddy at the time, most likely in that case. And they're going to say, hey, J-Lo, you want us to bring this up and do this the hard way? Or you want to do this the easy way? Write out a check, please. Thank you. We know that's what they're waiting on because they did the same thing with Jay-Z. They had him in there as celebrity, what was it? Celebrity A, I believe. Diddy and then Celebrity A. They had him in there as Celebrity A initially. Tony Buzbee reached out and said, hey, Jay-Z, our client is saying that it was you in that room. You guys want to have a mediation and talk about it? Jay-Z said in 2000. Man, I wasn't even at a house in 2000. I don't know what she's talking about. And I definitely never did anything to a 13-year-old we're not having the mediation. Forget about it. They said, oh, okay. The hard way it is. Amended claim. Jayz was the other person in the room and he participated and he went first. Oh my God. You know, they're doing the same thing with Celebrity B, whoever this might be. I think the B stands for BS.
Continue. And you look and there's celebrities that she says she's mingling with before. Afterwards, she says she runs out of the house naked. Runs out of the house naked. None of them notice that. None of them pay any notice. For 24 years, none of them has said anything. And so she's just asked in this interview, she's asked, well, I mean, celebrities are recognizable people. Surely you can tell us one celebrity that was there. Just give us one name so that we know this happened. And she says, okay, Benji Madden was there. And she wants to conjure up religion and say, I'm religious. I remember his tattoo. She looks and remembers so vividly the tattoo and the conversation with Mr. Madden. Well, Mr. Madden wasn't there. He already said he wasn't there. His tour schedule said he wasn't there. And he wasn't there because this never happened. None of this ever happened.
Because it never happened.
You keep going and you ask yourself, well, who is this complaining witness? She does not come forward with her real name. She proceeds under Jane Doe. There's no report to the police. According to her, she never tells anybody for 24 years. Not one person, not alone in the car for 5 hours at home.
Oh, well, I got to interrupt Alex here. Sorry, Alex. That's not true. She did tell one person. She told the friend. The friend knew what happened. But the friend is dead. Rest in peace. So there's that. And she told the dad, but the dad said it never happened. So, I mean, yeah, it's not technically true.
On her way home, not one person, not a diary, not a family member, not a friend. Most people, when this happens, there's a need to tell somebody. We call these prompt outcry witnesses. In most complaints like this, people tell somebody. She says nobody for 24, 25 years. And then we get to the details. And I want to make sure this is clear. When people make up an account, whether intentionally or their mind is playing tricks on them, they can always get that core part of the story right. They can just keep repeating it over and over and over again. This is what happened, that core part. But they're always going to mess up the details. When something isn't real, when something doesn't happen, you're going to get the details wrong because you weren't really there. And so she starts with her story about her friend that dropped her off. Okay? This drive of over 5 hours, the friend would have had to have gone 10 plus hours to drop her off because she's got to get there. If this is real, she's got to get there. But guess what? This friend of hers, she doesn't get out of the car. Right? Think about that. She's just leaving a 13-year-old girl alone in Midtown. She doesn't even want to get out of the car. She came all that way. There can't be a witness there. She can't have a witness there because this never happened. So as you keep going, you ask yourself, but how did she end up in the car in the first place? And so she creates this story. She says, I snuck out the window. Right? But now we know she came from Rochester. So she would have been sneaking out of the window at 3 in the afternoon in the middle of broad daylight. Never heard of such a thing, defies common sense, doesn't make any sense because this never happened. And so she tells this story because she's got to create a way that she gets out of the house and ends up in New York City. And as we keep going here, the friend that implausibly leaves her there, there's then some pressure on that part of the story because it doesn't make any sense. And so the lawyer is asked, well, just produce the friend. And so he has to find somebody that can make this work. And of course, as soon as he's pressed, they find somebody who they say is no longer alive. They can't corroborate it, and there's nobody to talk to. Okay, and if we can keep going. Next slide. So she then gets there, right? And she has this vivid tale of watching it on a Jumbotron. It's in her complaint. Clear as day. There was no Jumbotron that year. Okay? I don't know whether they were Googling images and found the wrong year. I don't know whether she's just making it up out of whole cloth. There is no Jumbotron. In fact, they didn't even get a permit, according to the police and the city, for the Jumbotron that year. So that didn't happen. None of the details are right because this never happened.
Yep.
You keep going.
Never happened.
And then she says, I'm knocking on the doors and the windows of limousines and VIPs. Of course, that doesn't work either. If you look at the video, photographs, that whole area was blocked off. We've spoken to numerous people there that were in security. No one could have gotten anywhere near those cars because this never happened. She gets that fact wrong. And you know the whole story about, of all people, she knocks on Puff's window. 13-year-old girl in Midtown by herself. Just think about that. Think
Makes
about
no
how
sense.
illogical that is. Keep going. Again, this is Eminem performing in the streets. No Jumbotron. All the cars barricaded. Her facts don't check out because this never happened. We can keep going. So what ends up happening then, and this is important, is her original account in the original complaint says that at 9:30 or 10, she's told to wait there to get a ride to the after party. Okay? That also doesn't work because there's photographs now of Mr. Combs, Mr. Carter at commercial establishments in New York after the VMAs. So this narrative of at 10 o'clock she ends up at this party can't work. They got caught. So they change it in the amended complaint that there's this multiple drop-off and pickup that lands them at this White House that doesn't exist. So as we continue, this is again her account of trying to change the story into this multiple drop-off period to get them at the house to deal with the fact that there's photographic evidence that that's not where the after party was in the first place. And so as this account continues, you have to look at the timeline. You have to look at the timeline. So there's an old expression that time doesn't lie. Everything else that I'm talking about, these glaring inconsistencies, these are not minor inconsistencies. These are not minor problems with this story. This is utter falsehoods. Time never lies. And so if you look at the time, no matter what, this couldn't have happened. It's not even possible that this happened. And this is so important. So again, now that we know that it's a 5-hour drive in each direction, how she gets to the VMAs, okay, we're going to talk in some detail about this White House and whether or not they could have gotten there. And then again, Joe returns home to Rochester, okay? And this is very important. Because she returns home, she has to leave the New York area by 1:30 in the morning at the latest, okay? If you look at any of these White Houses and you look at the closest gas stations that could be to any of these White Houses, you have to leave this White House party by 12:45. By 12:45, in order to get to the gas station at 1:30, to call your father to pick you up to get home to Rochester at 6:30. So remember, she only has till 12:45 for everything that she says to have happened. The VMAs end at after 11. So you're talking about a window of a little more than an hour that this could possibly have happened even by their own account. And she says, during that little bit more than an hour, not only does she get to the house, not only is she inside mingling with celebrities, she has a drink, she's then sexually assaulted in front of an adult female multiple times. She gets out of that, she fights through it, she leaves the house naked, she gets all the way to the gas station. She had 37 minutes to possibly do this. Okay, even under their account. Okay, and of course, the biggest problem, perhaps of all, is there's photographs putting Mr. Combs and Mr. Carter at different places, not in a White House during that 37 minutes. So when I tell you that it's not just that this story is a lie and that it's not true, it's provably, demonstrably false. This never happened. So we talked about this 37 minutes. The earliest, even if we didn't have that establishments. Remember, this is innocence on top of innocence. Even if we didn't have that, according to her, the earliest they could have gotten to the house is 12:11. And the reason for that is, if the VMAs end and the drive is 20 minutes, the driver has to go there, drop them off, come back, pick her up, bring her back. She can't get there. And again, this is lickety-split. This is as fast as is possible, okay? This is no traffic leaving Radio City in Midtown during an awards ceremony.
This story doesn't make any sense.
She has to leave that white residence by 12:48 in order for her father to pick her up at the gas station. 37 minutes. That's the entire window of opportunity here. So here again is the timeline. Shows the 11:11 VMAs end, the drop-off, the pickup, and the drop-off. Next slide. And again, here we are. You see the 37 minutes. This is the 42 minutes it takes to walk. This is the closest gas station. And this is, remember this is a 13-year-old girl walking
so many holes in the story for real. Yes.
Maybe drugged, according to her, who's just been viciously raped multiple times, who was holding her own clothing, trying to get to a gas station that she had never been before. Okay? No map, no cell phone, no nothing. Straight line, it's 42 minutes. Okay? The story doesn't work, it doesn't check out. Okay? This never happened. Next slide. These are all the things that they claim happened in that 37 minutes. Okay? And again, 37 is giving them every benefit of the doubt as how long this window could be. Every benefit of the doubt. But here's an even bigger problem. There are photographs of Mr. Carter and Mr. Combs at commercial establishments during the 37 minutes. They're not there. Even if you try to come up with the fastest possible timeline. I'm talking about no traffic, nobody getting in your way at the door, right to the bar kind of timeline. It still doesn't work because they had to leave Radio City. They had to go to the commercial establishments. Mr. Combs is photographed at 2 different commercial establishments with Jennifer Lopez, 2 establishments. They had to go to both of those establishments and get back to the White House. Get back to the White House before she has to leave at 12:30.
Couldn't happen.
None of this can work. And in fact, and I think this is very important, you will notice in the photographs that Miss Lopez changes clothing between the 2 events that they go to in New York City. You can see
that's a whole 2 hours right there.
One outfit and another. So she had to be able to, in this 40-minute window, get to multiple events. They're seen drinking, socializing. She has to change outfits, change her hair, all within 40 minutes to get to that White House in time. And you're saying to yourself, so that's not possible. You're right, it's not possible. It's because this never happened. And then we get to the end. She kept running until she reached a gas station. A female clerk noticed her, allowed her to use the phone. Plaintiff called her father, admitted that she had lied about her whereabouts. And this is a very small thing, very small. But remember, when you leave house and you're 13, you have to have a story. You either have to sneak out and not have a lie, or you tell your parents a lie. Sort of 2 options, right? Earlier, she says, well, I didn't tell my parents a lie, I just snuck out the window, right? Here, she says, well, I lied.
She told her,
See? Do you know what that means?
She's a liar. And she said she called her dad and told him, oh, Dad, I lied. I'm sorry. Please come pick me up and save me. And the dad said, yo, that never happened. Crazy.
That means she's lying within her own story. They can't both be true. And I said earlier that no witnesses have come forward in basically a quarter of a century, except for one. Now there's one. Her own father. The person who knows her best. And he came forward too. And he said, you know what? This never happened. This never happened. And his attention was drawn to it. I feel like I would remember that. And they said, but you've got a lot going on. Maybe you forgot this. You've got a lot going on. They told him, listen, you've got a lot going on. Try to see if they pressed him, if he stuck to his story. He said, yeah, I have a lot going on, but that's something that would definitely stick in my mind. Of course it would stick in your mind. You drove 10 hours to pick up your 13-year-old daughter in New York City. It's not something you would forget. It's not something that he did forget because this never happened. And of course, just like the friend that couldn't be there at the beginning, you can't have a witness to something that never happened. When asked, well, what did you say to your father in the car? What did you talk about? Nothing. She says not a word was spoken. There can't be a conversation because this never happened. And so, you got to ask yourself what's going on here, right? And you all saw that videotape of her being interviewed in the shadowy room. She's holding a teddy bear. She's talking about her issues, her head trauma. She's been through a lot in her life, you can tell. And so, who took advantage of this? Why are we here? Why is this story getting created?
Tony.
And I'll tell you who took advantage of this.
Uh-oh.
This lawyer took advantage of this. That's what's going on here. And you can see here, now that this is starting to unravel and the truth is coming out, he's starting to walk away from it. He's saying, oh, sorry, this case was referred to our firm by another firm, so I didn't really check it out, is basically what he's saying.
Nasty work.
Right? He brings an accusation like this attacks a man with the integrity of Mr. Carter, and all he has to say for himself now is, well, I didn't really check on this. I got a referral, trying to make a little bit of money, so we just went live with it. Next. Here is again the timeline that he went live with. In the face of this irrefutable, time doesn't lie evidence, he went live with it. And again, it doesn't work. This 37 minutes, it does not work.
Because it didn't happen.
It does not work because there's photographs. There's photographs. You can find them on the internet of them. They're changing clothes. She's changed clothes. Do you know how long that takes for her to go to 2 events, change clothes, get inside, have drinks, they're socializing, they're not popping into these events. To then get back out into the suburbs somewhere at a house that doesn't exist? It's not possible. Actually not possible. He is for sure innocent of this accusation. Next slide.
Because it didn't
But
happen.
you know, this lawyer, he doesn't care about things like this. The only other person he's brought a complaint against for just mere association, merely being at a Sean Combs party, he's already been wrong about that one too. He had to change that one. If you look at the next slide, he got the year wrong. He said there was a party in the Hamptons. Mr. Combs was in Saint-Tropez at the time. Didn't check out. 2 claims, neither are checking out. If we could keep going. And we have this, individuals calling my office, telling me story after story. And, I'm not going to get sidetracked. People think I'm going to start saying, explaining he's a grifter and all these things about him. I'm not here to talk about him more than I need to. But there's people calling the office saying, yeah, they were being pressured to say stuff, to say that they were with Mr. Combs. These are affidavits. They're filed in court. This is what you're dealing with here. Next slide. And so this is who took advantage of the woman in the shadowy video. He gives a press conference, 1-800 number, and he claims 2 days after posting that press conference, 2 days,
I saw it too.
that he has 120 fully vetted plaintiffs, 120. Anybody that does this for real, anyone that knows what they're doing, knows to corroborate, to interrogate, and to be sure about even one person takes weeks. One person. You've got to find out if their story makes sense. Did they really get dropped off? Does any of it check out? Is there corroboration? Are there any witnesses? It takes weeks for one. He had 120 in 2 days. When he files these cases, he doesn't even enter his notice of appearance. He just has some other lawyer file and he holds his press conference. He says, listen, anybody out there, just call the 1-800 number. If you can put yourself anywhere near a Sean Combs party at any point, we can go after the other celebrities there. We can make money together. Just call the 1-800 number. That's all you need to do. And then we'll send a letter to the celebrity. They're not going to want to have this in the public light. And they're going to be shaken down and they'll send us money. So he's just call the number. And Mr. Carter said no. He said, that's not going to happen anymore. I'm going to put my foot down. And that's what he did. And I would urge any other celebrity that's being shaken down right now to do the same thing and to stand with truth. None of this ever happened. And what this 1-800 lawyer is doing, he's taking the justice away from this. He's destroying this opportunity and the voices of real victims, and it's got to end. So, are there any questions? Yes.
One question.
There are a couple of good questions here.
Your office, I'm assuming if it's not dismissed, like worst case scenario, and you guys move forward to try and show that everything you just told us, what evidence are you guys submitting other than the accounts they're giving you over the phone? Like, or do any of those people calling you have like emails between them and Buzbee or text conversations where they're encouraging this stuff? Yeah, so let me divide that question into 2 if I can.
It's a good question.
We expect the case to be dismissed. If it's not, eventually this will all crumble because it can't possibly have happened mathematically. You don't even need witnesses. They don't have any witnesses because this never happened, and you don't need witnesses because the time doesn't work. There's literally photographic evidence that proves that this could not have happened. In terms of what's going to happen to Mr. Buzbee for this racket and everything else going on, time will tell. But this is how things unravel. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
They're going to get him.
ClassE Intelligence, and has your firm ever hired them in connection with Tony Buzbee to investigate Tony Buzbee as he's alleged?
I don't know that firm, don't know those people, and the answer is no.
So this might just be an extension of the first question, but you said that there were people calling saying they were being pressured to say that they were with Mr. Combs. Can you elaborate on that, please? Are they calling you to say if they're being pressured?
Yeah, there was a witness that came forward that contacted my office and submitted an affidavit in court regarding this,
And we read that
accounted
in
for
past video.
what occurred on that day, which was they called the Buzbee firm. They said they had an inquiry. The inquiry had nothing to do with Mr. Combs, Mr. Carter, or any of this. And the people at the Buzbee firm said, well, why don't we try to push this in the direction of the Combs case? That's a better decision in sum and substance. That's a better way to go here.
Nasty
This
work.
individual refused to do that, contacted my office and signed it, and then an affidavit was submitted to court.
Yep, and we talked about that the other day. It's disgusting that this would happen. If true, it's still alleged. As much as I'd like to sit here and just take shots at Tony, we don't know if this is actually happening, if this is the case. So we'll have to see as this plays out. But Alex, Jayz, Tony, it looks like neither one of them are backing down. As we just saw, Tony's about to sue Roc Nation, saying that now they're coming after him and trying to get some of his former and current clients to say that they were coerced into making these statements. We're going to have to see what happens. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments and in the chat.